This is Bob Sanders from Tech Connector, and I'm very happy to introduce the account-based marketing leaders that we have today that we've assembled to basically talk about how we can drive virtual prospect engagements or meetings. During this very challenging pandemic, worldwide crisis time, how do we deal with this? And wanted to get our heads together to see if we can come up with good ideas to help each other, or at least console each other. If you guys can go around real quick and introduce yourselves, just like a 20-second intro, and then we can go into some of the topics that we have. So I'll start with Uki.
Sure. So this is Uki Chong. I'm the general manager at Inbox Insight for the U.S. team. I actually just recently joined this team going on 6 months now, and we specialize in B2B content amplification, really optimizing digital to do both outbound plus inbound type of demand generations, program for our clients.
Thank you, Uki. And Samantha?
Great. I'm Samantha Stone, and I'm the founder of the Marketing Advisory Network. And we work with organizations mostly who have complex buying and selling processes to help them with their marketing strategy. And I won't bore you with all the list of things that goes in there, but I'm thrilled to be here today to be talking to folks about some of the things that we all have to adjust as the things around us have changed so very much.
Thrilled to have you. William?
Sure, I'm William Toll. I'm the head of product marketing at Acronis. Acronis is a provider of cyber protection solutions. So our solutions provide data protection and cybersecurity solutions, and we primarily sell through the IT channel.
Excellent. Thank you, William. Rob?
Thanks, Bob. Rob Levitt. I'm a Senior Vice President for Consulting at ITSMA. We're a research and advisory firm for strategic B2B marketing. We work with a lot of big tech and professional services firms. I work on a lot of ABM strategy and program development, also things like executive engagement, thought leadership, some of those aspects of marketing, and happy to be here.
Super. Thanks for being had. Michael?
Yeah, thanks. Michael Phelan, principal of Go-to-Market Pros here in Boston. I've been doing a lot of work over the last 6 months on how tech companies actually secure appointments with prospects, and which part of that is driven by marketing, which part of that is driven by sales, and how do sales teams learn about ways to ramp the most successful ideas in terms of generating new prospect meetings. It's more important than ever in COVID, and the bar has raised. So I think this is a very pertinent conversation.
Excellent. Thank you. And Harry?
Hey there. I'm Harry Gold. I'm one of the founders of Overdrive Interactive. We are a integrated digital marketing firm in Boston, doing all the digital marketing ops stuff that B2B clients need to open, widen, and maintain their digital channels. So essentially, we're in the business of crafting customer journeys that lead prospects and customers to the doors of our clients, using all the standard ABM, demand gen, search, all that good stuff, combined together into a consistent customer journey.
Beautiful. Thank you, Harry. And then we have in attendance, we've got almost 20 different folks on the listening in. And let me see if I can do a poll. If you guys can, I'd like to poll our audience to find out if you can tell us a little bit about your company, where you're coming from. Who's your target audience? Is it tech? Is it B2B non-tech? Is it B2C is kind of the main delineation? And then separately, what do you find is your product? Is it considered to be critical out there, especially in times of a pandemic, or is it a nice to have or something in between? All right. Well, as expected, we've got mostly B2B tech, which is very similar to what our panel is, which is good. So I think when we talk B2B, it's really mostly around tech. So which is interesting. So I'm glad the audience is similarly inclined. Everybody feels their product's important, which is good. It's nice to be important. Whether it's critical or not necessarily, but it's obviously it's important because that's why you're selling it. And so, how do you deal with it where maybe it's not the right time, but maybe how can you get that sale going? So I think that's good feedback. Thank you for everyone. All right, and then share results. So 80% tech, all B2B, and then everybody's important, and some is more important than others. Actually, nice to have. Some are nice to have. So that's a tougher sell right now. The second poll I had was, let's see, nope, I guess not. That's fine. All right. So so let's talk about how do we deal with the pandemic. One of the things I wanted to ask is how have things changed, right? The connect rates have to be, they're not necessarily down, and up or down, and the conversion rates. So that's two different issues. One is being able to reach people because they're not at their regular phone. Is their phone being forwarded? Is their information being forwarded? Are they still working? And then how receptive are they to hearing from you and to go to the next step, which is typically a meeting, because that's the topic of this. So I'm gonna let you guys. Oh, by the way, I like the fact that we've got a great panel here. A lot of good solution providers, a lot of good advisors, and my most favorite is William, because he's the user. He's actually the marketer that has to implement these things and to spend the money or not and have to deal with his boss. So I'm mostly interested in hearing what William has to say. So so as far as things go, so what changes have you guys seen as far as the mindset of when you're calling or when you're contacting people? What is the challenges that you're hearing or seeing?
William, I feel like you have to answer with Bob's introductory comments there. Any of us jumping in would.
You guys are chopped liver.
Yeah, so I did have some good conversations with some of our sales team members prior to this webinar on some of these topics. And I think the number one thing is we're seeing it evolve. That first 3 weeks in March, it was all hands on deck for everybody, right? It was the transition to work from home. And for our partners, primarily service providers who enable work from home environments, they weren't interested in hearing at all from us. They were, it was all hands on deck.
They're busy.
Yeah, they're busy, right? And now we're just starting to see as the dust settles a little bit and the new norm becomes the new norm, unfortunately. They're starting to be open to exploring and reevaluating some of the things that they're working on, right? They have some team members that simply can't perform their normal duties, but they're still valuable. So they're being given some research projects, and those research projects open the door to new vendors and new opportunities for solution providers like us.
And it sounds like your solution is particularly critical now. I mean, that's a feature and a bug.
Yeah, and we took advantage of that. We provide endpoint protection solutions, and working from home could introduce all sorts of new endpoints, and that could be a big problem for IT and service providers. So providing security on a home network, on a home device, is a big challenge. And we're actually seeing an increase in the number of users and subscriptions.
Thank you.
And I think William hit the nail a little bit. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Michael. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, this question about is interesting. Is our prospects more available or less available now? We can talk about what the appropriate reach out is, but it's interesting. I've seen two different types of CMOs right now. One is kind of back off, don't sell, kind of pull back. And then I've seen other CMOs that have been, let's continue to drive, let's engage with prospects. In what I do personally, I set up moderated meetings for my clients. So I book these meetings, and we talk about best practices and what's going on in the industry, and we have a collaborative discussion with the client. I find actually that prospects are more available than ever, with one or two exceptions in the financial area and banking and loans. Those are hard to get to. But by and large, these big companies are available to have a strategic discussion, a forward-driven discussion, particularly around best practices, where they stand right now, what their peers are doing, and how they're dealing with this crisis and how their peers are dealing with this crisis. They're very, very open to have that discussion. So I find it interesting that some people are kind of pulling back, like nearly going in their own shell, and other people are changing their strategy, but adopting a much more value-added, empathetic, and relationship approach. And they're finding that they're getting meetings with people that they never would normally get, because these people have 2 hours booked on their calendars now a day, and they might normally have 10 or 12. And the cancellation rates are down. So I'd be interested to hear what people feel about this. Are prospects more available than ever? And if so, what's the right approach to get a meeting right now at a prospect?
So I'll just say, I don't know who all these people are who have more time. I'm not one of them. I'm not personally experiencing that in any way. And my experience, Michael, has been really different than yours. But I will say we're not trying to rally people around response to the current situation necessarily. So we have actually accelerated some of our research where we felt it was appropriate to do so, but some of it we've held back. And the reason we've held back is we felt it would skew results, because where people's heads are at today and what they're thinking about and what their priorities are not related to the businesses by which we were doing the business right now. Like, they're so consumed by, yes, I may have more hours I'm home and not in work meetings, but I've got kids running around, or spouses, or dogs barking, or a messy desk I don't want to share you. So I have not experienced what you have, which is people have more time. Now, that doesn't mean we haven't been able to connect with people. I think that's a really different thing. And we're connecting with people all day long. And we're having discussions with people all day long. And I think those discussions and connections are meaningful and relationship building and are leading to business. But I've found it difficult. I'll give you one little sort of adjacent thought is I have a friend who was planning, she's a CMO of an analytics company, and they had an event that they turned digital, no surprise there, but she had these physical kits that she wanted to send all the attendees. So when they were there, they had, these physical things with them and make it, this is awesome. But then you think, where do I get the 500 addresses? Because every address in my database is the headquartered office. So I can ship them, but those employees, those people who are attending aren't going to give it. So there's ways around that. They can work it into the registration process, but it introduced a new step and a new contact point that we don't traditionally have to address in B2B, because we mostly send to businesses. And then it became sensitive about, do I want to give my home business? Sure, send me the kit, but I don't want you to send other stuff to my house. And so it's been an interesting complication that they're working through right now.
Thank you, Samantha. And Uki, I think you had something to share.
I was just going to add, to William's point earlier, what I love about the U.S. in general is the people's ability to adapt and overcome things, right? And I think what we saw was the first few weeks, people were adapting, right? They were trying to figure out, okay, those that didn't work from home ever, they're getting used to it. How are they getting support, et cetera? And now that we're starting to see that people have been doing this for a little bit now, we're seeing traction coming back, right? People need to get things done. This is an economy where we have to do free trade, right, guys? And we have to drive this home every day, and people need to get back to their lives. Now, I do think that essentially overall behavior is changing now, right? People are going to start changing how they interact with people. How many face-to-face meetings are we going to get now, right? Things like that. But from a nurture perspective, I've always been a firm believer in this is, I think what's happening is, these teams that have been running, the sales marketing side, let's say 3-6 months ago, they were running, partner programs, they were generating leads, whatever it may be, that pipeline has been affected for sure. But right now, I think what's really crucial is to really guide these, companies again, let them know you're still around, and again, nurture those individuals to really guide them so that your pipeline 3 to 6 months down the road is going to start getting filled again.
Um, I got some thoughts I'd like to sort of say that, one, our philosophy that we've been adhering to and encourage our clients to adhere to is clearly keep the pedal to the metal. Now is not the time to back off on your marketing. Now, having said that, we're in a fortunate position where, most of what we do are like essential services. Like, is any company going to let their website go down? No. Are they going to stop posting to social? No. Do they not want to come up in the search engines, especially now when that's your main outlet? No. Are they going to stop bidding on keywords that are important? No. Are they going to stop retargeting their ABM audience that they need, to wrap in their brand embrace? No. Are they going to stop sending emails and nurture campaigns? No. So there's a lot of digital marketing ops that are essential to any organization. So, what we've done, so on the question of, well, can you get people on the phone? Can you reach people? We're in the luxurious position of having a good body of clients, a lot of clients, maybe 30 clients, 40 clients. So we're able to do a lot of customer marketing directly to our clients. And the funny thing is, I feel like 75% of our enterprise clients were already working from home. And now they're not traveling all over the country, going to trade shows and meetings. So in some ways, our clients are much more accessible to us, and we are certainly accessible to them. So we've picked up a lot of what I would call migration dollars. Oh, we were going to do these field marketing events. We were going to go to these trade shows. Now what can we do? What's a fast thing I can do to still make my numbers? So we have been the beneficiaries of some of those migratory dollars. Now, at the same time, on the other end, you do have people who are getting nervous. They are cutting budgets. They are retreating into those things that have traditionally worked for them. So, but overall, there's a balancing act. So we're not like a travel company that had our business go to the floor. And for a lot of our tech B2B clients who we serve, they're all in, cybersecurity, cloud infrastructure. One of our clients is Dell. They're selling laptops and all of this work from home stuff. So they've either actually increased or maintained these essential services. Now, on the other side of the ship, new business, that is where a lot of prospects have fallen silent. They have become a little harder to reach. And usually what we're hearing is, hey, good to hear from you. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that. I'll call you. Don't call us. You know what I mean? We'll call you when we're ready. So I'm not going to deny that on the new business funnel, there are not some very significant challenges, and we're B2B marketers as an agency. So I would assume that there are a lot of people on our client side where their salespeople are having similar situations. So now the question becomes, well, how do you get your prospects on the phone? Bob Samuels is doing a really good job getting me on the phone. So these types of engagements where it's a little softer of a sell, maybe you're appealing to the selfish elements with, like, this is great for all of us to be on Bob's show here, right? We're promoting ourselves and our companies. So I think we do have to get a little more innovative on how to engage with our prospects, where instead of giving them a white paper, you're giving them a valuable way or a valuable reason to engage with you. And I think what Bob is doing here is a great example of that. Like, how can we engage with our prospects? How can we pull them into our conversations and communities, but do it more than virtually, do it in a very physical way like we're doing here. And I will admit, Bob, got a pitch date out of me. So I got a date on Bob's calendar where we're going to
love it.
So I'm just saying, like, this is exactly the type of thing that when we're thinking about how we engage with the new prospects, I think just saying, hey, do you want a demo? They're going to say, no, I know about you. I'm not ready for the demo. But if you say, do you want to share some of your challenges with some of your colleagues in a forum like this? I think this is a classic example of, how to do B2B marketing to influencers in the right way. I mean, clearly that there's a two-way street happening here. So that's my 2 cents. And great.
Thank you, Harry. I appreciate that. And Rob, I haven't heard from you yet.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things, and we've been talking to a lot of CMOs and others over the last month, and I do think, and I forget who said it before, we're getting to stage 2 of this. You know, the first month was, you know, kind of scramble mode and reactive mode, and now we're beginning to plan and execute. When I say we, I mean our clients, our, you know, our companies and so on. We're kind of planning and executing for the next period, which we don't know how long that is. Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Is it 2 years? You know, beginning to think past that about some of the permanent changes that we're likely to see. But it strikes me that all the things that we've been doing as B2B marketers over the last 5 or 10 years are now taking dramatic steps forward. More personalized, more digital, more audience focused, more account based, more value based, more collaborative engagement based, you know, all these kind of buzzwords that do have a lot of substance behind them, which we've been learning and doing and getting better at in recent years, are going to take a giant step forward. So, you know, and because it's a combination of a whole new way of working with the pandemic and a recession that we're facing. So you know, I know from most of the gray hairs here on the screen that this is not the first time we've been through, you know, a big downturn, a big disruption. And so the fundamentals become much more important. What really are we selling? Who really are the customers that matter to us? How do we get the most out of our existing accounts? How do we be very focused and targeted for new accounts, new prospects, things like that? You know, so all those things, you know, I'm hearing actual excitement with a lot of the folks we work with because they're being forced to be very creative, to be really agile, to be really collaborative between marketing and sales and delivery and customer success and all the things that we know we should be doing. Now we have to do, you know, prioritizing, segmenting better. It's like all these things. So, you know, it's going to be tough times for quite a while, I think, for a lot of us. I mean, we are seeing cuts. Harry, you mentioned it. You know, companies are cutting back. I mean, you know, friends of mine at some of the other companies, even some of the MarTech companies I know are making cuts because when you're more dependent on new accounts, you know, those are decisions that companies are backing off of. You know, so smaller projects, short-term deals, right? Quick hit stuff. You know, you want me to buy a long-term, you know, subscription? It's like, not now. You know, so I mean, I'm a consultant, so I always say it depends, right? And so who our customers are, what markets we're in, what we're selling, you know, cyber, absolutely, great opportunity. Digital marketing services, absolutely, great opportunity. You know, but some of the, and I know some of the folks on the call said, you know, some of what we're selling are nice to haves. That's harder. You know, you want to play to your strengths. You want to go to your key existing accounts. But those are, I think, some of the things that we're wrestling with. So it's absolutely, it's a good time to be prospecting, but in a much more targeted, value-based, careful, personalized way. You know, and then people absolutely are interested, you know. But again, all the things we've always talked about, relevance, timeliness, value, you know, so I'm always wary of the generalizations.
I like that. So it's forcing us to be better at the fundamentals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Rob, this is what you said really struck a chord. I'm seeing salespeople really want to engage with marketing and sales enablement in a way that they've never done before. Perhaps we are all communicating better because it's just the camera and me every day, all day on Zoom, and it's meeting after meeting. In the first couple of weeks, it was disconcerting, but now I'm getting inbound requests from salespeople to be walked through the content in the campaign that we've never had before. They you know, they depend on us more now because it is all digital, and they can't get on the plane and make that visit. All the content that we're creating and the virtual programs we're doing they want to know about it, and they want to know the details and how they can help influence it. Yeah.
So William, just building on that, I was just before this call, I was on a sales huddle with a whole set of enterprise sales reps, and we were talking about what's going on with them and how they're getting meetings and how they're not getting meetings. And, you know, one of the things they talked a lot about was content, that they feel that the content they've had in the past is no longer really usable, that everything has to be now personalized to COVID and to crisis management and post-crisis management. So they're kind of like feeling like they what they have is no longer relevant in their companies, and they're trying to actually create their own content because they feel like they need to reach out, and they're intimidated by the quality of some of the content coming forward for companies that have they're kind of now stymied, right? And what I was suggesting to them is, you know, hey, maybe you can curate some content that might be relevant to your prospect. You don't have to write everything yourself, but they're kind of deer in the headlights a little bit on content right now. Sounds like you guys are ahead of it a little bit, but the question is, have companies mobilized to have the right content right now, given how fast this has hit us? And our reps kind of a little bit intimidated with what to send out to prospects.
So
I'm so glad that you
I'd
brought
like
that
to
up.
elaborate on that. Let me
ahead,
just
Harry.
elaborate on what Michael said about content, and sort of map it back to the question that was asked, like, how do you get people on the phone? How do you get them to engage? We sort of break offers down into content offers and contact offers. Well, great. We can come up with more content. We can put it out there. It can get consumed. Doesn't necessarily mean people want to talk to you. And one thing that we learned over the years about enterprise marketing and marketing to the enterprise, especially very expensive technology products. I mean, we work with Akamai and Dell and EMC and RSA Security and all these people. No one's buying a multi-million-dollar security platform from a landing page, right? We can agree on that. So what are we really selling? What are we actually marketing? We are marketing conversations with experts. If you try to sell the whole thing in that ad or landing page, there's no way, you're not going to get very far. So what are we really selling? We're really selling the conversation. So what we've tried to do is focus our contact offers into repositioning it as a valuable way for you to do your job. If you're in charge of implementing security, we can help you develop an RFP. We can give you a free consultation with a security engineer, a free assessment. So 5 reasons to talk to RSA Security about your security platform or whatever it is, right? So really you want to think about your offers and like, how do I reposition a pitch call as a valuable conversation? So we have found that to be very effective. Your conversion rates do go down, but your MQL rate in terms of a lead that's like, yes, I want to talk to someone, goes up. So I would say that in thinking about content, it's also thinking about how do you position the offer as a valuable conversation. And we have found that to be very effective in terms of delivering warm leads that you can actually get on the phone. You have to set it up. So get a quote, help us formulate the right quote. Anyone who's researching this stuff needs to know how much it costs. And they don't always want to go through all this stuff. Get on the phone and we'll give you a quote in 30 minutes, right? That's what someone needs to do their job. So we have found that sample budgets, sample quotes, helping to design RFPs, things like that really sell the value of the conversation have been effective in getting people on the phone. So yes, redo your content, but also redo your offers. Like really think about how you're positioning a conversation with a sales rep.
Beautiful. Thank you, Harry. So it seems like a lot of it's going to depend on how critical your product is. To be able to, if you're selling toilet paper now, you're going to be a hero everywhere. And likewise, security and at-home services. But what about, like Samantha, you kind of alluded to it, and Harry, you did too. Some marketing programs are essential, but others, especially to start a new solution provider, it's not the right time. So what do you do in those cases?
You know, it's interesting that you said that. I actually think most toilet paper companies aren't heroes right now. Most of us are kind of annoyed at them because we're running out. So I joke about it, but I'm actually serious about that, right? I think there's this interesting opportunity. There are essential services where we can really be super transparent about what we're serving, and we can help people at a point in need that is unique and may never happen again, right? Breweries creating hand sanitizers, right? Like that's never going to happen. I can't imagine that ever happening again, right? The opportunity to do that, but they found something that they have that they can repackage. And I think for most of us, we have to think that way, which is all of our services are essential in some way, or we wouldn't be in business, right? If we have any substantive, repeatable business, we're adding value to people. The question is the tone by which and how we package it. Sometimes we have to change what it is we sell. For my own practice right now, we're not doing a lot of strategic go-to-market planning workshops, right? That's not on the docket right now, but we're busy and we're doing a ton of work at helping companies figure out how to talk about it, how to position what they're doing, helping sales through this. So it's sometimes changing what we do, and other times it's changing who we sell to. So I think B2B marketers have to get better at adapting to that and recognizing it and taking some cues from our partners in what we think of as B2C. So there's a great examples in the restaurant food distribution business. These are food distribution companies that sell to restaurants. They do not sell to consumers. They are B2B in all the ways that we think of. They're not tech, but they're B2B. But restaurants are not buying their food right now. So what are they doing? They're creating boxes and they're going direct to consumers and they're selling direct to consumers. And look, it's not their business model. It's not the customers. Nobody knows their brand because none of us have heard this. We buy food at a restaurant. We don't buy from those companies. But they're adapting who they sell to and they're doing it quickly. I think all of us just have to find ways to adapt to potentially a slower financial reality that's probably going to hit a lot of companies right now in the short term, but think long term about what we do have that can add value to people. Whether we charge them for it or not right now is a critical question all of us have to ask, and it's our values as individual companies and our integrity as companies and our ability to make it through and think long term that I think ultimately will determine the long term winners from the people who just scrape by.
I think that's brilliant. Thinking value. Where can you add value? Yeah, Harry.
I'd like to add one thing to, kind of like in 2 points. One is we got to focus, our clients and us as providers have to focus on our current clients. I mean, first thing you want to do is stop from losing business. So that is a new communication challenge, not only for us, but for our clients. A lot of people are pausing and they're firing and they're doing this and they're doing that. So there's a lot of customer communication programs that people do have to jumpstart. They have to communicate with their customers in new ways. And the other thing is, and this is what we're finding, you're right, people don't want to go through procurement and the process of adding a new vendor. What does that mean? That's an opportunity for current vendors to go in and say, we already work together. We don't have to go through that process. I mean, we work with these enterprises. It takes us, we're already working and we're not even on their vendor list yet. It takes 4 months to get on the list to get a PO, so I can only imagine what that process is now. So first, you got to talk to your clients and say, let's talk about your current clients. What are we doing to keep them on board? What are we doing to help our cross-selling, upselling, all of that stuff? Are we giving them a deal to renew their contracts and extend them another 18 months or 12 months? Something like that. So what are we doing right now to communicate with our current clients? So that's a real important thing. The second is when they do call you up and say, I need to stop, or I need to cancel, or I need to fire you. You guys are doing a great job, but we just don't have the money. We're like, hold on, you don't have to fire us. Let's just take this month-to-month contract and let's just give you, why don't we just put it on pause for 3 months? It'll automatically restart. And if you need to pause in 3 months, we'll pause it again. But you do need to assemble your objections, if you will, to cancellations. You do have to figure out ways of saying, look, what if I made it net 90? What if I just gave you a 2-month pause? I mean, when you pause your health club membership, they don't let you cancel. They say, okay, you're turning off now. When are you turning back? Okay, we'll give you a 2-month pause. So, you know, if you're in a contract with someone, you don't have to just say, all right, I'll let you out of your contract. You go, no problem. Why don't we just pause it for 2 months? And then it'll pick up here. We'll talk then. So that's a real important thing also when working with our clients is like, look, we want to help you grow business and new business, but we're also going to help you put together some communication programs and sales protocols to help you retain and grow your current business.
Thank you, Harry. Rob?
Yeah, a couple of quick examples kind of picking up on this conversation. So one of the questions, what do we do when we can't sell? And I think absolutely it is, how do we maintain or strengthen relationships? And that can be both new and existing. So a couple quick ABM examples. One of the companies I'm working with picks up on Samantha's. We're running an ABM program. Their client is actually a big fast food restaurant chain. So their business obviously has fallen off a cliff. I mean, it's literally down 80 to 90% because it's just drive-through and delivery. My client was on the verge of signing a big new deal to, you know, upgrade all kinds of equipment. That's completely off the table, but they're actually talking to the CIO every single week because they're helping shift some of the software with the existing equipment. Not really much money there, unbelievable strengthening the relationship. 3-6 months from now, the big deal will come through and the relationship will be that much stronger. We've done it ourselves with a company, a prospect we've been talking with about helping them start an ABM program. They're in the airline business. You know, they serve the airlines. So they're also in really, really tough shape right now. We are saying, we're going to get started. You don't have to pay us. You know, you can pay us in 6 months. We understand how urgent this is for your business. We trust you. You're good for it. You know, we get incredible goodwill. We're working. That will become a good client. They get tremendous value from that. So, you know, it's that balancing act, because I think, again, we're out of the immediate crisis and now we're kind of dealing with the bigger, longer term crisis. And so we need to figure out, how do we balance, you know, immediate revenue, maintaining relationships, looking for longer term opportunity.
Beautiful. So has anybody else seen a shift or have some examples of a shift where it's going
Well,
from
I will say,
selling to maintaining that relationship? Okay.
Yeah, I will say on our side, you know, when I look at new versus existing, because I'm a sales guy at heart, guys, I really am. You know, I'm looking at, okay, how can, you know, you still be effective, you know, with your messaging? How can you still get those new business deals in, right? Because that's the bottom line of growth. Current clients, absolutely. So I look at it from two sides. If you're in a space that is very difficult to prospect into, you know, we get it, right? That's hard. You have to really think outside the box on how to engage with those individuals. But if you're in a space where you know that you have some sort of solution or service that's still relevant, is how can you get that to the new businesses out there that would still be open to hearing about it now, right? Because I can't deny it, even on our side, you know, we have started building relationships with, you know, a lot of great clients, even this past couple of weeks, you know, new business, they're looking to grow spend. And what they really liked is the fact that everyone is looking, and I think everyone touched on this, on different ways to optimize what's been done for the past 20 years, right? Is what's, you know, what can we do better now? You know, what do you have that can do that better? Can you prove it? And let's test it out. Because ultimately, from a conversion standpoint, people still realize that they have to generate pipeline and they want visibility now, right? They want transparency. They want to know black and white, what's working, what's not. Make sure it's data driven. And if you're able to back those checkpoints off, there's still really good potential to start building new relationships right now, even in this time. I do believe that.
So I want to elaborate
William,
on what
I saw
Yuki
you.
said.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
So to elaborate on what Yuki said, and it's not quite B2B, but I want to give you 2 examples of people saying, well, what can we do for now to sort of preserve or build our market for later? If you look at the health club industry, there's really been no, I mean, that's one of the businesses that, I mean, here we have Boston Sports Club. I had a trainer there, he's a buddy of mine. They slammed those doors shut and just fired everyone. And now they're in the middle of some big lawsuit, and they're going to go under. Meanwhile, you have Planet Fitness. they really fast came up with a workout app. So we have this whole work out from home now. You can't even buy barbells, benches, used equipment, all sold out all over the country, right? So obviously people still want to work out. So Planet Fitness was really smart. First of all, they're doing live, Facebook Live events, free personal training for everyone. Just go to our Facebook page, like it, and boom, they're doing Facebook Live events with workout sessions. I would imagine they're getting a lot of new, customer connections or prospect connections out of that. They also put out a free work at home app and things like that. So they're sort of just like when I think it was Rob who said, look, we'll still work for you for free. You don't have to pay us yet. I think that's what they're doing. They're saying, look, start arranging your workouts around us, through these Facebook Live events, through our app. And when we all do get out of jail, who are you gonna be all connected with? Whose brand embrace are you all wrapped up in? Planet Fitness's brand embrace. So I think that there are very innovative ways to not only get new customers, but also really start preparing for the future. So when we are sort of unleashed, if you will, you're going to be able to hit the ground running. So there's a lot of prepping and preserving we can do.
That's a great example. So providing value, and William, you had some ideas on that, or education?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we need to be doing right now, is providing value. The example I gave before with the sales team wanting to take the time to know all that content, wanting to know about all the campaigns, and improve the process. Likewise, because we sell through the IT channel, we're finding it's a great time for education, right? So we have all sorts of certifications that engineers can go through, and our existing partners are taking the time to learn how to sell better, how to market better. I know we work with Samantha. She's consulting with us right now, and we've got some great campaigns running that are all about that, right? Changing the approach and learning why what was being done in the past doesn't really work so well in the current day. So I think now is a great time to push the educational aspect, and you can do that through content, but you can also do that through virtual events. And we had our first virtual conference, a 2-hour virtual conference. And, we all try to get those 30-minute webinar spots. We wondered what was going to happen with 2 hours. We actually had planned this in January. We saw a record number of registrations and attendees, and opportunities are coming out of it that we never would have seen before. And I was shocked that the number of attendees remained the same all the way into 1.5 hours. It was an event, and we did that by breaking the virtual conference into a panel with some experts. We had our demo and our pitch in the middle. We broke that pitch down into 3 separate demos. Nobody wants to sit and watch a mouse follow around on the screen for 20 minutes. So we broke it into 3 little bits. Then we had another panel at the end, and it was pretty interesting to see all those attendees and the results from that. People have a little bit more time, and I don't know, I think I'm a little less stressed working from home in one way. So, cool.
That's great. Well, by the way, William, you just bought yourself a spot on our panel for the upcoming ABM Leader discussion on virtual events.
Okay.
I'll reach
Cool
out
stuff.
to you later
All
about
right.
that. Any other words of wisdom or ideas that you've seen?
Quick thought on that. One of the other, so totally agree on all the value in education. One of the other things I think it's really important for us to be thinking about now is research and insight, because everything we think we knew about our clients and our markets is gone. I mean, it's a little overstated, but, and I look at this the way I look at almost everything. There's a near-term and a longer-term aspect to this. So now is a really important time to be trying to get the pulse of what's going on with our customers, our prospects, the markets, our competitors, all of that, and figure out how to do that better and more efficiently in an ongoing way. So, a lot of the companies we work with do these big market studies, and it's like, oh, we did it last year, we can't afford, we'll do it next year. And it's like, that's not the way. You need to do it now, and you need to be, constantly monitoring in a much more effective and efficient way, and sharing the data and the insight with sales across the organization, product marketing, development, R&D, on and on and on. So again, one of these things we've been talking about for years, getting better at, and we've been getting better at it. We need to take a big step forward.
So building on that,
quick and dirty
Rob,
now, and then solidify.
I was going to say, building on that, Rob, I mean, a lot of stuff is kind of focused on dealing with the current crisis, sales, marketing, whatever it is. Very little is focused on, how you're going to come out of the crisis and ramp from there forward. And that's really what companies are starting to consider, as these cities now start to talk about what happens post, right? Nobody's really talking about what the business world is going to look like, and what the demand's going to look like, and how buying and selling is going to change. So there is that real opportunity, but the missing part is the forward-driven piece of it. I don't see hardly any content that envisions what this world's going to look like after this mess.
It's coming. I mean, I work with the big four a lot, Deloitte and PwC and McKinsey and EY and all them. They're now starting to produce their first kind of longer pieces on where do we go from here? How are these markets going to change? What are the longer term implications? And so I think we all need to be reading that stuff, because it helps us think about it, and then starting to have some of those conversations with other clients. Here's a quick example. A friend of mine runs sales for a supply chain software company. So, and they work with a lot of the, Procter & Gamble and, Walmart, they work with a lot of the really big companies whose supply chains are being stressed, to say the least. So what he said to me is, we're not expecting any new business for the next 90 days. We're helping, as best we can for them to kind of flex and strengthen and all that. And we expect in the fall, we're going to be inundated with opportunities and demand. How do we make our supply chains more robust? So that's across, 12 different industries that they serve, where it's mission critical. Pause now, get ready for the onslaught coming later.
So to build on that, Rob, the pause now that everyone's saying is a big opportunity for a lot of our clients, because it's like, well, wait a second. All this pent up demand is being created. Everyone's cutting their bids, cutting their programs. So now you have the opportunity to actually saturate the marketplace in a less competitive environment. Pull people into your brand embrace, get them to receive their education from you instead of your competitors. So now is not the time to pull back with everyone else. Now is the time to be that lone beacon.
Totally
that
agree.
security-minded individuals can go for. So I think that's a really important thing. Just like you said, they're anticipating all this demand. What that means is, okay, you're not gonna build outdoor advertising in Logan Airport. Fine, right? But there is an audience of buyers out there that you should be using custom audiences with to target on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
You should be doing all these things. So again, okay, I hear that you want to pull back, but let's just talk about where you really have to keep the lights on. And that's good for us as providers and good for them, because now when the leads do ramp back up, they're going to be on all those short lists, because they're the ones who have had that steady state presence in the market.
Just to be clear, I think they and a lot of companies, when I say pull back, I think they're expecting revenue to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
They're pulling back from aggressive selling because they're actively helping their customers. They're not pulling back from marketing. They're not pulling back from relationship building. This is more projecting what the business is going to look like. So they are getting ready. And I don't know their marketing that well. This is more on the sales side. So I totally agree with you that, now is not the time to be pulling back from marketing. It is, however, I think the time to be very thoughtful and careful. And again, more segmented, more personalized, more targeted, and more value-based with all of it. But absolutely, I mean, we know from the past, the companies that come out of recessions the best are the ones that often ramped up marketing during the recession. They didn't cut it back.
Right. And the good thing about ABM is, we're saying, hey, we're not saying to ramp up your marketing. We're not saying go out and start doing like outdoor advertising and all this stuff. We're saying ramp up your ABM. And that's a smaller proposition than, some multi-million-dollar new campaign. It's like, hey, we understand you can't do the branding thing or all this stuff, but hey, let's not cut back on ABM, because that is communicating with your most critical audience, whether they're current customers or future customers. So I think there's a pitch to be made there.
Makes sense. Beautiful. So we're running up to the top of the hour. Any other words of wisdom?
It looks like one of the
anyone wants to
attendees has
share?
the question, Bob. We should probably address the question that they had.
Which is, you want to read it?
Yeah, sure. Would virtual prospect engagement only limit to conversations? How far do you see it translate into a business decision? Great question. Who wants to field it?
You want to go first, Yuki?
Sure. I think it ties to what the overall theme that everyone's been touching on, guys, right? Is driving that custom engagement, okay? So that when you're engaging virtually now, is people still see that you're real, right? That they see a face behind the name, behind the content. They know you're a real person here to talk to you. And it's kind of cliche, but don't try and sell them, guys, right? Just try and have a conversation, talk to them, learn about what they're looking to do, why they want to talk to you, what they're open about. And then from there, that's going to naturally translate into business deals. Whether it's a month from now, 6 months from now, but if you've been engaging with these guys and they start trusting you, really trusting what you guys are talking about and just, that relationship that you guys are building, trust me, when they start going back live with programs or whatever they're looking to sell and you're relevant, you're going to be top of mind when you go and when they have to, look at partners to work with, because they've been talking to you for however many months and they've had great conversations with you guys, right?
Beautiful. So you establish a relationship and the trust.
Hey, Bob, can I use my "it depends" again?
Yes, you may, Rob.
It really depends what you're selling. If you're selling something that people need right now, don't be shy about it. We're getting inbound. And again, one of my ABM clients is working with a big pharmacy chain. So we've paused some of our marketing tactics because the pharmacy is saying, I need you to immediately respond to these 3 big RFPs. Okay. So don't be shy. It's like, we need to buy your services right now.
Right. And I just did a Google trend search on VPN security, and it's doubled in the last month. So, for some businesses, again, especially in tech beating ABM, like I said, this is not the time to take your foot off the gas. People are looking to implement VPN security right now. And across the tech B2B spectrum, you can find lots of, and I'm sure in the consumer space too. Lots of people are, looking to sign up for food delivery services and, personal trainers that can, train you via, FaceTime or whatever. So there are a lot of segments and keywords and products where, yeah, you should be ramping up. And especially, William, I saw you laugh when I said VPN security, but
yep.
A lot of our clients, yes, we're having to increase paid search budgets, and our retargeting has gone up, budgets have gone up because those sections of their sites are getting more traffic, and people don't want VPN security for when this thing is over. They need it right now. So
yeah, you got to evolve, right? We live in a digital world where the data can tell us exactly where to go and go hunting. And those that update their messaging and their call to action and their approach quicker and faster are going to come out ahead. Got to move quick.
Evolve is a good word. And I think Krista had a question.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. Go ahead, Samantha. Go ahead and read it.
It says when you connect with a prospect and they say 3 months from now, do you market to them in the meantime? You know, a lot of people are saying not now, soon. And I honestly treat it now in the same way that I always have, which is I'm building a relationship with someone, and I'm going to communicate with them over time. If it feels like marketing, it's not likely going to work as well if it feels like serving and helping. And so while it may technically be marketing because we're staying in touch through emails or inviting them to events, we want them to feel like we're connecting with them as individuals. Right now, more than ever, I think we have to change how we measure things, like buy now, click here, urgent, time running out. Like, we have to get that out of our vocabulary. Nobody in the world, literally in the world today, needs more pressure and more stress to act on a marketing communication. I don't care what it is that we sell. Even toilet paper people will manufacture, will bust if they start the 10, 9, 8 stuff, right? We don't have it in us for that. So I think that we do what we always should be doing, and is to communicate, help, serve, stay in touch. Don't nag, don't hound, don't add extra time pressure. People tell us the truth when they tell us their time frame. And if we've got a good relationship with them, they'll look back on and find ways to help them, get to know them, understand their challenge, send them stuff that's helpful. Try and communicate to the ways that you think are going to be useful to them. And if nothing else happens from this, if I never receive another email that says, the crocodile ate my email, or you must have missed it because you're busy, and we get to real personalized communications, I think that will be amazing. And all joking aside, I think that's what we have to do here, is stay in touch, but stay in touch in a way that is serving, not selling.
I will say, just from a pure, let's say, sales strategy perspective, again, I'm a firm believer that people still need to do what they needed to do, right? So if I was a salesperson and I was reaching out to a prospect, I would classify them into 2 buckets, right? One that's active, engaged, and one that needs to go to nurture, right? Long term. So when you have that mindset, you can start, really disciplining your day on how you prospect, so that you have your queue of individuals that that has responded to you. They're not ready. So guess what? I'm going to start really engaging with them with some really cool stuff, right? Not selling them. Then you have your new prospect list that you're continuing to trying to get that response from, right? That should be sales focused. So I think that's how it would help, Krista, for example, to really just streamline your day too.
Beautiful. Thank you all. This has been a really good discussion. I learned a lot. I enjoyed it. I like seeing your faces. We've got more panel discussions in the next few weeks, so I'll keep you all posted. And I appreciate it. Any other last words of wisdom? Otherwise, I'll sign off.
Great stuff, Bob. Thank you.
Stay sane. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Take care,
Stay
all.
safe.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.